Hi guys! Welcome back to MathTabang. So in kanina video, ang atong button is we are going to figure out how to find the inverse of a function. So the inverse of a function, it sounds hard or more siya lisod, but actually it's super easy, and ang nagkapalisod ra niya is ang mga vocabulary words and also ang symbols and notations na gigamit sa kanina skill. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to find the inverse of a function first, and then tulante ka unsay gipasabot sa mga notation and unsaon siya pagbutang. So our first problem is going to be find the inverse of the function f of x equals 3x plus 12. For this problem, ang una natong button is we are going to switch that f of x out for y, because remember, ang y and ang f of x is the same thing, but for me, usay maglibog ko basta f of x ako siyang ibilin. So I switch it out for y, and ang atong problem is now actually y equals 3x plus 12. And then, ang inverse, what it means is actually ibali ang function. So what we're going to be doing is ang y and ang x, ato silang ibali. So instead of y equals 3x plus 12, ang atong problem actually is x equals 3y plus 12. And then, the only thing you need to do is imo siyang i-solve for y. So ang y dapat mag-inusara sa isa ka side. So the first thing we're going to do that is, ang 12 ato siyang tantangan. So subtract 12 from both sides and we will get x minus 12 equals 3y. And then finally, tantangan nato ang 3. So we will divide 3 from both sides and we will get x over 3 minus 12 over 3 equals y. And if ato siyang i-simplify, we get x over 3 minus 4 equals y. But we're not done yet. Normally, basta magsulat sila sa isa ka graph or isa ka function, mag-una na ang y, dili siya mag-uwahi. So we are going to put the y in the front, and you get y equals x over 3 minus 4. And then the last thing we're going to be doing is, since what we did was we found the inverse of x, we are going to switch that y out for usa ka symbol or notation na gipasabot niya kay mo ng inverse sa f of x. So, ang kani siya na symbol, f to the power of negative 1 of x, ang gipasabot ra niya is mo ng inverse sa f of x. So, we just put that in. F to the power of negative 1 of x equals x over 3 minus 4. And that is the final answer. So, as you can see, ang process or unsaon siya pag-solve is actually kind of simple. It's just like solving equations. Pero, ang notations involved niya, that's where it gets kind of confusing. Just remember that f to the power of negative 1 of x means the inverse of x. So let's try usa pa ka mas lisod na problem. So find the inverse of the function f of x equals 5x squared plus 10. Now remember, first we need to switch the f of x for a y. Now we have y equals 5x squared plus 10, and then let's switch the x's and the y's to find the inverse. And we have x equals 5y squared plus 10. And then finally solve for y. So subtract 10 from both sides and you will get x minus 10 equals 5y squared. And then finally divide both sides by 5 and you will get x over 5 minus 10 over 5 equals y squared. And then simplify. Since 10 divided by 5 is going to be 2, you actually have x over 5 minus 2 equals y squared. Now, what we need to do is we need to get rid of that squared, right? So let's take the square root of both sides.
And we get the square root of x over 5 minus 2 equals y.
But remember, we still need to put the y in the front and then exchange the y for the notation f to the power of negative 1 of x, which just means the inverse of x. So our final answer is the inverse of x equals square root of x over 5 minus 2. So one thing that I want to point out is ang kani siya na final na equation, it's not a function. Why? Because if you put an input inside of it, you actually get two outputs. So let's try giving the function an input of 35.
So f to the power of negative 1 of 35 equals the square root of 35 over 5 minus 2. So let's simplify that. The square root of 35 over 5 becomes 7, and we have the square root of 7 minus 2. And then finally, the square root of 5. So when x is 35, y is the square root of 5, which actually na siya duha ka answers. So when x is 35, ang imong answers is negative square root of 5 and positive square root of 5.
This means that this relation is not a function. So just keep in mind that just because you took the inverse of a function doesn't mean ang inverse kay function pud siya. Okay, so now let's summarize this video. So the inverse of f of x, if imo siyang isulat in notation, actually becomes f to the power of negative 1 of x. And not only that, but the inverse of a function is ang bali sa function. And if you look at it in a graph, you can see that actually the inverse is just the reflection of the original function over the line y equals x. Finally, ayaw kalimti ang steps that you need to do to find the inverse of the function. Remember, first, change the f of x to y para dili kay siya libog. Swap the x's and y's, or ang mga x puliyog y and ang y ipuliyog x. And then finally, ang imong button para makakuha ka sa inverse is solve for y. And then, i-replace ang y with the notation that means the inverse of f of x, or f to the power of negative 1 of x. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. We really appreciate na ni-ari ka, ni-tanaw ka sa video. I hope na nakasabot jud mo unsa ang pagpangita sa inverse of function. If ganahan ka makamaster sa mga skills na gi-mention sa kanina video, practice problems will be linked below in the description. Also, make sure to like and subscribe because it really helps us out in making these videos. Thanks so much again. Bye, everyone.